My best friend Olivia stared at me, her eyes wide as she crushed the paper coffee cup in her hand. The crumpled cardboard made a soft, defeated sound. Clearly, she couldn't believe what I had just told her, that I would break up with Liam, my boyfriend of 4 years, so decisively, especially since we were already talking about marriage, about picket fences and a golden retriever to play with our future kids in the yard. I remained calm, taking a slow sip of my latte. It was just for that, I repeated softly. In everyone's eyes, Liam was a perfect catch, an executive at a multinational corporation with a 6-figure salary, no bad habits, and impeccable looks. He was handsome in that classic, dependable way that mothers love. In this relationship, I was supposed to be the one holding on tight, the one who was lucky. But now, just because he gave the passenger seat to a female colleague, I was breaking up with him. 5 hours earlier, Liam had come to pick me up from work as usual. The Chicago traffic was a nightmare, but seeing his sleek black sedan pull up to the curb was always a small moment of peace. In my chaotic day, I habitually pulled open the passenger door, my mind already on what we'd have for dinner, only to freeze. A young, unfamiliar woman was sitting there. She gave me a shy smile, her cheeks flushing a delicate pink. "Hi," she said, her voice small, timidly calling me. "You must be Sarah." Then, she tugged at the suit jacket draped over her shoulders. It was Liam's, my boyfriend, sitting in the driver's seat. Finally spoke, his tone casual, maybe a little too casual. "This is Jenna, a new intern from the office. She gets carsick, and she's not feeling well today. I'm dropping her home first since it's on the way. You can sit in the back today, honey." He said it so matter-of-factly, his expression so natural that for a split second, I almost thought it was perfectly reasonable. I almost nodded, almost opened the back door and slid in without a word. Perhaps we had been together for so long that he had forgotten about my severe, unshakable boundaries. The passenger seat wasn't just a seat. It was a space, a symbol. It was my space. As Liam's expression grew impatient, a slight furrow forming between his perfect brows, I finally nodded. "Okay." But I didn't move toward the back door. I closed the passenger door with a soft click, turned, and walked away without another glance. My phone was already in my hand. I typed a short, simple message, "We're over." Then I blocked his number and went straight back to the apartment we shared to pack my things. I also called a taxi to take me and the little terrier mix we had raised together away from this life. As I packed, I wished I could be one of those tragic heroines in the movies, the kind who could fit all their worldly belongings into a single, chic suitcase and walk away into the sunset. But that wasn't possible. My life with Liam had accumulated over for years. It was in the books on the shelves, the mismatched coffee mugs in the kitchen, the half-finished painting on the easel in the corner. I was probably going to need a moving service with 2 trucks. Toto, our little dog, seemed to sense the tension. He whined softly at my feet, nudging his head against my leg as I folded my clothes into boxes. Liam came back while I was in the middle of wrestling a large box of books toward the door. He was sweating and out of breath. His tie loosened. His eyes, usually so calm and confident, were filled with a mixture of displeasure and confusion. "Sarah, what on earth are you making a scene about?" he demanded. He used that word scene as if saying it automatically made it all my fault, as if my reaction was the problem, not his action. I stopped and looked at him, my voice dangerously quiet. "And what scene are you making? Liam, what are you angry about? Because Jenna sat in the passenger seat?" he said, his voice rising with disbelief. "She was on her period and gets carsick. We're both women. Can't you be a little more understanding?" He was furious. His rationalization, so flimsy and insulting, hung in the air between us. He snatched a suitcase from my hand and threw it aside. The crash echoed in the suddenly silent apartment. It startled Toto, who let out a sharp yelp and scrambled behind me. I stared at Liam coldly, taking a half step back. His violent, Sudden movement sent a genuine flicker of fear through me. For that comment alone, for that single action of throwing my things, I knew my decision was the right one. "We're done," I said, my voice firm now, leaving no room for argument. All my valuables, my laptop, my wallet, my passport were in the bag on my shoulder. I bent down and covered Toto's ears with my hands, not wanting him to hear the ugly argument between the two people he loved. Liam's face went blank for a moment. He knew me. He knew I never, ever joked about breaking up, but he still tried to pin the blame on me, to make me the unreasonable one. "We're about to get married. Sarah, just calm down. Stop being so dramatic." I shot back immediately, my words like ice. "But we're not married yet, are we?" He became agitated then, his face flushing a deep red as he took a step toward me, trying to grab me. I quickly retreated, getting the words out first. "You need to cool down for a night. I'm not staying here today." With that, I clipped the leash on Toto's collar, picked him up, and fled the apartment, leaving Liam standing alone amidst the half-packed boxes of a life we no longer shared. Back in the present, at the coffee shop, Olivia finally found her voice. "So why did you have to take the dog?" she asked, puzzled. "Were you worried he'd hit Toto?" After my impulsive departure, I had remembered that most hotels in Chicago don't allow pets, so I had to call my best friend for help. When Olivia opened the door to her apartment and saw me standing there with a dog in my arms and a box at my feet, she had fallen silent. I was silent, too. To be honest, the reality of my decision was starting to sink in. When we decided to get a dog 2 years ago, I had already considered the issue of custody if we broke up. It sounds cold, I know, but it was practical. I made sure I was the one who paid for the dog. The purchase contract from the breeder was in my name only. The vet bills were all on my credit card. It would be easy to take him with me if we split. Olivia had said at the time that if Liam knew what I was thinking, he'd be furious. She still couldn't understand why I would throw away a 4-year relationship over something that seemed so small. It was clear she believed a breakup should only happen after disappointment had accumulated over a long, painful time, leading to a quiet, sad departure. But why should I subject myself to that kind of pain over and over before finally leaving? Why should I give him so many chances to hurt me, to chip away at my self-worth? The moment I sense something is fundamentally wrong, the moment I feel my boundaries being disrespected, I pull away, without hesitation. In my eyes, this was a test of my boundaries that he had failed spectacularly. I tried to explain this to Olivia, my voice steady. If I had tolerated it this time, Liv, there would have been a next time, and a time after that. Soon, I'd be the woman who accepts anything just to keep the peace. I can't keep lowering my standards for him, for anyone. Olivia frowned, a look of pity in her eyes that I hated. "But what about your 4 years together? All the memories? Are you just going to let it all go so easily?" I didn't answer. 4 years felt like a lifetime, but it also felt like a sunk cost. Throwing more time after it wouldn't make it better. She sighed, finally giving up. "I just hope you don't regret this, Sarah." The next day, I called the movers to come get my things. I had arranged for them to arrive at 10 a.m., assuming Liam would be at work. I was wrong. He was sitting at the dining table eating breakfast, still in his pajamas, while a slender figure bustled about in the kitchen. It was his colleague, Jenna. Seeing me, Liam's eyes lit up with a flicker of hope, which immediately turned cold as he looked at me accusingly. "You realize you were wrong, don't you? You came back. You made such a big deal out of nothing. Jenna even came over specifically this morning to explain it all to you." Jenna, wearing my favorite floral apron, came out of the kitchen with a bowl of steaming porridge. Her long hair was draped casually over one shoulder, making her look natural and domestic, as if she were the lady of the house. She smiled softly at me, a perfect picture of innocence. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. I didn't mean for you to misunderstand. I was just not feeling well yesterday because of my period. So Liam gave me a ride home. Please don't be angry with him because of this. I've made breakfast. Why don't you sit down and have some? With that, she smoothly filled a bowl of porridge for Liam, placing it in front of him with practiced care. As she did, her sleeve slid up, revealing a small, angry red burn mark on her wrist. Liam immediately frowned, his voice thick with concern. How could you be so careless? Jenna just smiled and shook her head, a martyr to her own clumsiness. It's fine. It doesn't hurt anymore. Liam wasn't convinced. He gently took her wrist and blew on the burn. Silly girl. Of course. It hurts when it's this red. He then looked up at me, his tone now a command. Sarah, go get the burn cream from the bathroom cabinet. Jenna's face quietly flushed a pretty shade of pink. I watched this entire scene, so absurd and infuriating that I wanted to laugh. If I had any lingering feelings for our 4-year relationship before this morning, they were completely, utterly gone now, wiped clean. I looked from his hand on her wrist, to her blushing face, and then back to his entitled expression. Are your hands broken? I asked, my voice flat. Can you not get it yourself? I walked past them without another word, went straight into the bedroom, and continued packing. The movers arrived shortly after, and I directed them with cold efficiency. Anything I couldn't take, anything that held a memory I no longer wanted, I gave to the old man who came by on weekends to collect scrap. As Liam's face grew darker and darker with every box that left the apartment, I systematically erased every trace of myself from the life we had built. The photos on the wall, the books on the nightstand, even the half-used bottle of my shampoo in the shower. All of it, gone. Sarah, think this through, Liam said, blocking the doorway as I prepared to carry out the last box. His voice was a low growl. You're almost 30. If you break up with me, you'll never find anyone better. It's not too late. Put your things down, and I'll pretend none of this ever happened. I cut him off before he could continue his magnanimous offer. Are you sure you want to keep talking? My gaze shifted pointedly to Jenna, who was standing behind him, biting her lip so hard it was about to bleed. Any more of this, and your colleague is going to cry. Liam was stunned, then explained angrily, his voice rising again. I told you, she's just a colleague. Why won't you let it go? I let out a short, sarcastic laugh. Well, Liam, I wouldn't let a male colleague sit in my passenger seat and give him my coat to wear. And I certainly wouldn't let a colleague come to my home, wear my apron, and cook breakfast for me. But that's just me. After packing the last of my things into my car, I looked back at him one last time. He stood in the doorway of the now empty apartment, his brow furrowed, his eyes slightly red. Fortunately, his handsome features kept him from looking too menacing. His face was a big reason I had gotten together with him in the first place. I suppressed the last wave of melancholy in my heart and gave him a small wave. This is it. Then, let's not see each other again. He gritted his teeth, his face contorting with a rage that came from a deeply wounded ego. Sarah, you'd better not regret this. A few days later, Liam posted on his social media. Olivia was the one who told me, reading it aloud from her phone with dramatic flair. Must have been a murderer in my past life to be dating someone with an avoidant personality in this one. People in the comments immediately asked what happened. He replied vaguely, got hit with a cliff-like breakup. I had already deleted Liam and all his friends from my contacts. When I told Olivia that Liam had brought his female colleague home the very next morning, her attitude changed completely. She spent the entire night cursing him out over text messages. What is wrong with him? And now he's blaming it on you having an avoidant personality? Why doesn't he mention he brought a little homewrecker in training home? You just wait. I'm going to expose this bastard. Olivia, true to her word, typed furiously as she spoke. Sure enough, not long after she left a scathing comment on his post, Liam deleted the entire thing. She was still furious and wanted to confront him directly, but I talked her out of it. It's okay. Liv, even without Jenna, we wouldn't have lasted. And it was true. My family background was vastly different from Liam's. His parents were high-ranking government officials, wealthy and respected in their suburban Chicago community. He was their only son, raised with every advantage. My parents, on the other hand, were farmers from the Rust Belt. They had no pension, were emotionally abusive, and blatantly favored their son over their daughters. I had an older sister and a younger brother. My parents had wanted to send me to work in a factory right after middle school. It was only because I had excellent grades, ranking in the top 10 in the city, that my high school teachers intervened, helping me secure scholarships that saved me from that fate. College was my escape from that suffocating home. Even if Liam never said it out loud, I could always feel a subtle sense of superiority from him. When we went out to eat and I packed the leftovers, he would give a tight little smile and say something about how it was cute that I was so frugal. When I spent time comparing prices online to find the best deal on a flight or a new appliance, he thought it was an unnecessary waste of time. His solution was always to just buy the more expensive, well-known brand. The future he always envisioned was one where I would quit my job after marriage and become a housewife, dedicating my life to preparing for and raising children. But I had my own career. It wasn't as high-paying or prestigious as his, but I loved it. I had fought my way through thousands of resumes to get my position. Why should I give up my life, my independence, for him? Why should I become a woman who revolved entirely around her husband and children? To this day, I still remember the inescapable shame I felt when I first met Liam's parents. His mother had sized me up like I was a head of cabbage at a farmer's market, her eyes calculating and dismissive. Neither of us was willing to compromise for the other. Ultimately, Jenna wasn't the cause of our breakup. She was just the catalyst, the final push I needed to leave a relationship that was already dying. To console me after the breakup, Olivia insisted on taking me to a bar for a drink. We went to a trendy, dimly lit place in Wicker Park, the kind of place with craft cocktails and exposed brick walls. Not long after we sat down, a guy in his early 20s came over to our table. He was handsome, with sharp features and an easy smile. He asked for my number. After he left, Olivia's eyes followed him. "I think that one was pretty cute," she said in a low voice. "Looked like a member of a boy band." He did look like he was still in college. When he spoke, his sharp canine teeth showed, making him look even more boyish and a little mischievous. "I'm not looking to date right now," I said, shaking my head as I watched the bartender mix our drinks. "Then why did you give him your number?" Olivia teased, a knowing smile in her eyes. "They were drawing cards over there," I explained, gesturing with my chin. It was obviously a game of truth or dare. I pointed her to a nearby table where a group of similarly aged boys was starting another round, laughing loudly. Sure enough, just as I said it, the guy who got my number messaged me to say he had lost a dare. I didn't reply and just deleted the contact. 7 days after the breakup, Jenna appeared in Liam's social media feed. It was Olivia who told me, laughing as she showed me her phone. He set the post so only I could see it. I asked his buddies, and they all said they didn't see anything. "He must know I'd tell you. So, he's posting it for you to see. Do you think he's trying to make you jealous?" The photo was artsy and vague, showing only a partial arm in the passenger seat of his car, with no caption. It was clearly a woman's arm, delicate and pale. At the same time, a friend request from Liam came through on my phone. The note attached said, "Let me see the dog." I ignored it. A few moments later, another request came through. This time, the note was more demanding. "Toto was our shared responsibility. It's not fair that you won't even let me see him after we broke up." I was so glad I had kept the purchase contract and all the payment records. I took a picture of the documents, where my name was clearly listed as the sole owner, and sent it to him through a messaging app I hadn't blocked him on yet. He was clearly triggered. His reply came instantly. "You were planning to break up with me all along, weren't you? Sarah, you're really something else. You're the one who changed, and you're blaming me?" Then the call started. "Answer the phone." We need to talk. Unblock me. I sighed and blocked this number too. So annoying. A week later, Olivia dragged me back to the same bar, and I saw the young guy again. He seemed to be a regular. He walked in with a group of friends, wearing a simple denim jacket, and casually lit a cigarette as he sat down. As he looked up, his eyes met mine across the crowded room. I emotionlessly looked away, my gaze returning to the singer on the stage who was strumming an acoustic guitar. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him watching me for a while. It was clear we were from different worlds. His seemingly ordinary jacket, as Olivia later informed me with wide eyes, cost over $4,000. Even his lighter was a DuPont. Of course, I didn't recognize any of these luxury brands. It was Olivia who was staring and muttering about them under her breath. She took a selfie and posted it online with a cynical caption, "What's one more rich kid in this world?" Anyway, I thought the same. After a while, another guy from their group came over to ask for my number. He was blushing and a bit awkward. Another dare. This time, I just gave it to him and then blocked the number before he even got back to his table. As Olivia and I left the bar, I passed the group of young guys' table. I clearly heard a sneer from one of them. "Didn't you only get her number because you lost a dare? So what if she deleted you? Why are you so upset about it?" Outside the bar, Olivia was called away by some other friends she had spotted, and I waited for my rideshare alone under a streetlight. Soon, a black Rolls-Royce Cullinan pulled up in front of me. The familiar, ostentatious model made me instinctively frown and turn to leave. That wasn't my car, but I knew who it belonged to. The person in the car quickly got out and called my name. "Sarah, let's talk." Liam, whom I hadn't seen in days, grabbed my arm, forcing me to stay. I struggled discreetly, trying not to make a scene. "Let go. Liam, I'm not in the habit of chatting with ex-boyfriends. If you don't let go, I'm calling the police." He tightened his grip, as if he was afraid I would vanish into thin air. His handsome brow was furrowed, his eyes filled with an unwillingness to accept the situation. He opened the car door and tried to push me inside. "Get in the car first. I'll take you home." "How did you know I was here?" I demanded, planting my feet firmly. "Are you stalking me?" Liam's lips thinned into a hard line, a flicker of unease on his face. I saw Olivia's post. I gritted my teeth. That woman and her need to post everything online. "Look," he said, his voice softening slightly. "Let's just say I miss Toto. Can you just let me see the dog?" I wasn't as strong as him and was about to be forced into the car when suddenly, a hand grabbed Liam's arm that was holding mine. While he was stunned by the interruption, the person pulled me behind him, shielding me. It's the 21st century. Man, are we still forcing women against their will? A lazy, familiar voice came from in front of me. It was the first young guy who had asked for my number, the one from the boy band. "Who are you? Get out of the way. This is between me and my girlfriend." Liam's face was grim, his patience clearly gone. "I don't care if she's your girlfriend or not," the young man replied, not backing down an inch. "Can't you see? She doesn't want to go with you." His back completely shielded me, and it was surprisingly comforting, seeing the bar's security guards approaching. Alerted by the commotion, Liam's expression darkened. I cut him off before he could speak again, my voice sharp. "Liam, when it's over, it's over. The fact that we've come to this only proves we're not right for each other. Go. Don't make me lose all respect for you." He stood there silently for a long moment, the sounds of the city street swirling around us. Finally, his voice came out strained. "I can't accept this." He couldn't understand how I could just let go of a 4-year relationship so easily. But I could guess why he was so unwilling to let go. It was simply because I had left so cleanly, without any drama or tears or begging. His ego was bruised by being the one who was dumped, and he couldn't get over it. After Liam finally got into his car and drove away, I stepped out from behind the young man and thanked him. "Thank you for that." I thought for a moment, then asked, "What university are you from?" I'll send you a banner. It was an act of heroism. After all, the young man chuckled. A deep, pleasant sound. He took out his phone and showed me a chat screen with a rejected message. He waved it in front of me. If you really want to thank me, you can add me back. The conversation on the screen had stopped at his self-introduction. My name is Ethan. It hadn't sent. A prominent red exclamation mark was sitting in front of it. As I took out my phone and added him back, I asked, was it another lost dare that brought you over here? How did you know the first one was a dare? He asked, his eyes curving into a smile. His features were sharp, yet he had a lazy, weary air about him. The smile added a touch of unexpected warmth. I guessed. Smart, he said, his smile widening. But not this time. This time was all me. Ethan would occasionally chat with me, subtly trying to find out what kind of guys I liked. When he mentioned Liam, his words were full of disdain. A breakup reveals a person's true character. Your ex's character is clearly lacking. Whatever you do, don't get back with him. If you do, I'll come after you with a forklift. His dramatic pronouncements were so over the top they made me smile. Has he been bothering you again? Need any help? He'd ask. A digital knight in shining armor. He seemed to have a lot of free time. One afternoon, he sent me a message. Got hit during a basketball game today, but I still won. He sent a proud, flexing bicep emoji along with it. I was slacking off at work, staring at a spreadsheet that had started to blur, and replied with a thumbs up emoji. Are you hurt? I typed, more out of politeness than genuine concern. He replied instantly, as if he'd been waiting for that exact question. If I said I was, would you come see me? I thought for a while, tapping my pen against my desk. Probably not. I'm at work. There was no reply for a while. It wasn't until I had finally finished with the files on my desk and was stretching that I saw. I had several unread messages from him. When I opened the chat and saw the photo he had sent, I nearly spat out the coffee I had just sipped. His black t-shirt was lifted halfway, revealing a set of well-defined abs. There was a very faint red mark on his lower right abdomen. If he hadn't been pointing to it with a dramatic finger, I would have missed it entirely. The caption read, seriously, it hurts a lot. I had mixed feelings looking at the photo. It would probably heal if he just waited a bit longer. The picture felt a bit over the top, a clear attempt at getting a reaction. I wasn't sure what Ethan's intentions were, so I didn't reply. When Olivia found out, she slapped her thigh in delight. That kid is trying to seduce you. Damn, he looks good. You should go for it. Remembering how Liam had found me through Olivia's social media post, my brief amusement turned to annoyance. And you, I said, pointing an accusatory finger at her. We've already broken up. Why haven't you deleted him yet? Olivia winked at me mischievously. I'm keeping him as a digital pet. It's so much fun to watch him lose his composure from afar. I didn't get it. I subconsciously avoided Ethan's advances, only responding politely to his daily good morning and good night messages. On one hand, I was worried he was just looking for a fling, using me as a way to pass the time. On the other hand, I didn't believe in affection that came out of nowhere. Olivia said I was being too paranoid, too cynical. You should believe in love at first sight. Sarah, I flatly refused. No, I don't. That's called lust at first sight. Besides, a good-looking, rich kid like him would never be short of admirers. Seeing Ethan again a week later proved my theory was correct. A girl in a tight black dress with long, flowing hair was clinging to his arm at the bar. He was trying to pull his hand away with an annoyed expression on his face. Just as he was about to speak, his eyes met mine as I walked in with Olivia. Immediately, his handsome eyes lit up and he pointed right at me. My girlfriend's here. I subconsciously looked behind me, and then at Olivia's equally bewildered face. Seeing this, the girl clinging to him snorted. Yeah, right. Are you just grabbing a random person and pretending she's your girlfriend to fool me? Ethan ignored her. He picked up a small bouquet of gardenias from the tableware. Did those even come from? Walked over, and thrust it into my arms. The sweet, heavy fragrance was almost overwhelming. He put his arm around my shoulders and said to the girl, his voice filled with a hint of pride, "Let me introduce you. My girlfriend, Sarah." Then he squeezed my shoulder gently and whispered in my ear, "Help me out here, please." I immediately understood. I had owed him one since he helped me with Liam. I smiled sweetly at the girl. "Hi, is there something you need from my boyfriend?" The girl's eyes instantly turned red with frustration and jealousy. "I don't believe you. I've never heard of this person. She's just an actress you hired to trick me." Ethan frowned, his playful demeanor gone. His tone became much colder. "That's enough. Chloe, do you want us to kiss in front of you to prove it?" The girl, Chloe, ran off in a huff, tears welling in her eyes. I watched her leave and then tried to hand the flowers back to Ethan. He had helped me once, and now I had helped him once. We were even. But to my surprise, Ethan didn't take them back. "They're for you." The scent of the gardenias seemed to have soaked into my clothes, into my skin. I noticed that the tips of the young man's ears were slightly red. He glanced at me and then quickly looked away, a shy gesture that was at odds with his confident persona. He asked me, his voice a little softer now, "Has anyone ever told you that your name really suits you?" "Suits me." My mind conjured up some absurd images, and I couldn't help but laugh. He clearly didn't know the story behind it. He didn't know my older sister was named Rose and my younger brother was named Aspen. My parents weren't creative. They were just practical. There was no beautiful, poetic meaning behind my name. But Liam had said something similar once, after he learned the origin of my name, which I hated. He had specially bought a pot of gardenias for our apartment. He said he would raise me all over again, just like this plant, surrounding me with beauty. What happened later? A few months later, he complained that the strong scent of the gardenias gave him a headache and threw the whole pot away without telling me. "Thank you for the flowers," I said, my voice polite but distant. "But no thanks. Just consider today my way of repaying you for last time." I tried to push the bouquet back into his hands. Ethan stared at me, his dark eyes searching my face. After a moment, he tugged at the corner of his mouth in a wry smile. "Sarah, you seem really eager to cut ties with me. Why? You don't like younger guys?" Before I could answer, a confident, almost arrogant smile spread across his handsome face. I don't believe it. My heart skipped a beat, a tiny, ridiculous beat. Now, no matter how much I tried to avoid it, it was clear that Ethan wanted to pursue me. I decided to be direct. Give up. I'm not going to date a guy who is 6 years younger than me. He wouldn't listen. He was persistent. So what if it's 6 years? My mom is 8 years older than my dad, and they've been happily married for over 20 years. If you're rejecting me because of my age, I don't accept it. He was bold and direct in fighting for a chance, leaving me momentarily speechless. But then I thought, it didn't really matter. It was probably just a whim for him. A new game. Once the novelty wore off, he would naturally stop. I told myself this and tried not to get any more entangled with him. Ethan pursued me extravagantly for the next 4 months. His persistence was unlike anything I had ever encountered. It wasn't pushy or demanding, but a steady, creative, and surprisingly thoughtful campaign. One of his friends, a lanky guy named Marcus, came up to me and Olivia at the bar one night. "Sis," he said to me with a grin, "I have to hand it to you. This is the first time Ethan has chased a girl for this long and not gotten her. Keep it up. Don't give in. Let's see how long he can last." His words were meant to be a joke, but they planted a small seed of unease in my mind. A game. It still felt like a game. To be honest, I didn't expect him to last this long either. During this time, he had been incredibly tactful, maintaining a perfect sense of propriety that never made me feel burdened or pressured. He sent flowers to my office, and never gardenias again, but bright, cheerful sunflowers and daisies. He'd leave a coffee from my favorite local shop on my car windshield in the mornings. He learned that I volunteered at an animal shelter on weekends, and soon he was there too, cleaning cages and walking dogs, never once complaining about the mess. My initial, firm stance against dating a guy 6 years younger was starting to waver. The wall I had built around myself was developing tiny hairline cracks. One Friday evening, he was waiting for me outside my office building as I walked out. When he saw me, he immediately extinguished the cigarette in his hand, waved away the smoke, and a brilliant smile appeared on his handsome face. "Off work," he announced cheerfully. "I'm taking you somewhere special today." He patted the back of his sleek, black motorcycle, gesturing for me to get on. I was about to shake my head and refuse, my standard automatic response, but he saw the refusal forming on my lips and pleaded, his voice soft, "Don't say no just yet. It's my birthday today. Can you just grant my one birthday wish? The rule is, if you've decided to refuse, you shouldn't give the other person any false hope. Not leading someone on is also a form of kindness." I had always stuck to this principle. "No, Ethan. Just for tonight," he interrupted, his eyes wide and earnest. "I promise it won't be late. After tonight, if you still want me to, I won't bother you anymore. Please." Looking into his pitifully beautiful eyes, I hesitated for a rare moment. The words of rejection I had planned to say got stuck in my throat. I asked tentatively, "Really? You'll stop?" His face immediately lit up like a puppy hearing the words. "Let's go for a walk." He nodded vigorously. "Really?" I regretted it the moment I got on the motorcycle. The engine roared to life, and it felt like my body was flying forward while my soul and brain were chasing frantically from behind. The wind whipped my hair across my face, and the city lights blurred into long streaks of color. I had no choice but to wrap my arms tightly round Ethan's waist, pressing my cheek against the cool leather of his jacket. I could hear his joyful laughter mixed with the rush of the wind. After about 40 minutes of riding, we finally stopped. By now, the sky was completely dark. We were in an open field somewhere outside the city, far from the light pollution. There were very few stars, but the moon was full and bright, casting a silvery glow over everything. "What did you want me to see?" I asked, looking round the quiet, empty space. After a full circle, I turned back to him. I saw him with his back to me, furtively rummaging through a saddlebag on his bike. The sound of a lighter clicked, and he turned around holding a small cake, a single candle flickering and illuminating his handsome face with a gentle, warm glow. "Happy birthday, Sarah," he said softly. "I hope I'm in your wish." I was stunned. The next moment, the sky above us lit up as if it were day, and a cascade of fireworks exploded in a shower of gold and crimson. It was only after the brilliant flash that I heard the deafening sound. It took me a long time to find my voice. How did you know it was my birthday today?" Olivia told me. He confessed with a sheepish grin. A strange, sour feeling filled my chest, and my eyes welled up with unexpected tears. I took the cake from his hands, forced a smile, and said half-jokingly, "Olivia and I are the same age. Why do you call her sis but not me?" He scratched his head, looking adorably flustered. "That's different. I don't want you to be my sister." He paused, then added, "Didn't you say it's your birthday today, too?" "I just said that to trick you into coming out with me," he admitted. "You're so hard to get a date with." His tone was full of mock resentment. Then, as if remembering something important, he pulled out a slightly wilted bouquet of gardenias from the other saddlebag and presented it to me, like a treasure. This time, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I accepted his flowers, my voice soft. "Don't give me gardenias anymore. I don't like them." I finally told him the story. I was a frail and sickly child. A neighbor, trying to be kind, gave my parents a pot of gardenias for good luck, but they had no idea how to care for them, and the delicate flowers withered and died within a week. My father, a man of simple frustrations, angrily cursed the flowers for being cheap and weak, just like me, destined for a short, unremarkable life. When the town clerk came to register names for the census, I hadn't officially been named yet. Annoyed, My father just blurted out, "Call her Gardenia." I changed it to Sarah the day I turned 18. But the association, the feeling of being named after something my own father saw as a failure, never left me. So, whenever someone mentioned my name in relation to the flower, I always felt a sharp sense of irony and pain. Ethan frowned after hearing the story, a look of genuine pain in his eyes. Of course, I didn't expect a kid who had clearly grown up surrounded by love and privileged to be able to truly empathize. I just wanted someone to talk to, a reason for him to stop buying the flowers. But he suddenly pulled me into a tight, fierce hug. He affirmed, word by word, into my ear, "You are wonderful, and the flowers are wonderful. Sarah is always worthy of being loved." The fireworks continued to bloom brilliantly in the night sky. I smiled against his shoulder, a real, unforced smile, and for the first time, I responded to Ethan's affection. "Thank you," I whispered. "My wish is for both of us to have a better future. And Ethan, you are in my wish." On the way back, Ethan insisted on holding my hand and taking a picture for his social media. Our faces weren't in the shot, just our intertwined hands against the dark denim of his jeans. Not long after he posted it, he received a phone call. I only vaguely heard his side of the conversation. Words like, "Succeeded," and "told you I would." I just assumed he was happily telling his friends about his successful confession, and didn't think much of it. After that night, everything changed. Olivia teased me relentlessly. "So, how does it feel to date a younger guy?" "Clingy," I replied, glancing at Ethan, who was on my couch playing with Toto. "Too clingy." He was the complete opposite of Liam. He was dedicated to leaving his mark on every aspect of my life and having me leave my mark on his. His possessiveness and need for control were abnormally strong, but in a sweet, almost childish way. After learning that Toto was a dog I got while I was with Liam, he even started to dislike Toto a little, competing for my attention. Lately, he had been pestering me to knit him a scarf. I had absolutely no talent for such things. I was clumsy with my hands, but considering Ethan's impeccable taste, I bought the best quality cashmere yarn I could find. I was busy with work, but I spent my evenings finding time to watch scarf knitting tutorials on YouTube. During a video call one night, Ethan watched me struggle with the needles and the tangled yarn, a blissful, happy expression on his face. His roommate walked by in the background and marveled loudly. "Look at that cheap, lovesick smile on your face. You're really into her." Huh. The words caught me off guard, and I instinctively looked up from my knitting. Ethan's face had already darkened. He cursed at his roommate, who awkwardly shuffled away. "Don't listen to him," Ethan said quickly, his voice a little tight. "They're just jealous that I'm in a relationship." I just nodded and continued to battle with the ball of yarn. After a few minutes of silence, I noticed Ethan was watching me cautiously through the screen. "You're not mad, are you?" I was baffled. Mad about what? I wasn't going to get angry over a thoughtless comment from a college student. Hearing my confirmation, Ethan finally seemed to relax. The scarf took me the better part of a month to finish. It was a lumpy, uneven thing, a testament to my lack of skill. I unraveled it and raywear upon it at least 3 times before it was finally done. When I finally gave it to Ethan, he looked down at the dark gray cashmere for a long time, his fingers tracing the crooked stitches. "Thank you," he said, his voice quiet. "I love it." But his tone was tinged with an indescribable complexity, a shadow in his eyes that I couldn't quite decipher. I sensed that something was wrong with him, that he seemed more subdued than usual, but I didn't know why. I just patted his head, ruffling his soft hair. "Wear it when it gets colder." A few nights later, while walking Toto in the evening, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in a long time. He was standing under a large oak tree in a gray overcoat, watching me quietly from the shadows. Toto recognized him before I did. His tail started wagging like a propeller, and he strained against the leash, letting out happy yips. The smile on my face froze, and I emotionlessly ended the phone call I was on. It was Liam. After I had blocked all his known contact methods, he had resorted to calling me from other people's phones, his number showing up as unknown caller. He was still hung up on our breakup. He had demanded on the phone that I give him a reason, a real reason that he could accept, even if I'm going to die. Let me die knowing why, he had said dramatically, without a clear reason. He claimed he would never be able to move on. I thought he had a conveniently short memory, always acting like the victim, as if he hadn't been the one to bring his female colleague into our home, into our life. So, I had told him, seriously and calmly, "You were testing me, Liam, testing my boundaries, testing how much I would tolerate. Her crush on you is so obvious it's painful to watch, and you didn't reject it. We're not kids anymore. Not being proactive isn't the same as rejection. Your non-rejection, in the eyes of someone who likes you, is an invitation, an opportunity. Today, you asked me to give her the passenger seat. Tomorrow, you could ask me to give her my husband. If I had agreed this time, how could you guarantee there wouldn't be a next time? I just didn't give you the chance to hurt me more than you already had. What are you so upset about?" Beyond that, there was his family, his condescension, his growing coldness day by day. I didn't want to dig up all the old grievances. In the end, I just said, my voice tired, "I'm not in the habit of being friends with exes. A good ex should be as good as dead. I hope you can manage that. And of course, I won't bother you either. Don't call me again." Apparently, he hadn't managed it. I was about to turn and take a different route with the dog when Liam called out to me, "Sarah, how have you been?" I could see he hadn't been doing well. He was much thinner than the last time I saw him, with a faint, unshaven stubble shadowing his chin. "Very well," I said curtly, not wanting to talk to him, but he crouched down and held out his hand to Toto, who immediately ran over, licking his face with joy. "Are you with that young guy now?" he asked, stroking Toto's head as he looked up at me. His eyes were filled with a familiar, lingering affection that made my stomach clench. I turned my head away to avoid his gaze. "That's none of your business. Don't be so resistant. Sarah, even though we broke up, I still want you to be happy. But, do you really know him?" I paused. His tone wasn't just bitter. It was laced with a strange sort of pity. For me, this wasn't about me and Liam anymore. It was about Ethan. "What do you mean?" Liam didn't speak. He just stood up, pulled out his phone, and showed me a photo. "Just took this." The text under the image read, it was a picture of Ethan at the bar, the same one we always went to. He was laughing with his friends, a drink in his hand. He had just told me on the phone, not 10 minutes ago, that he was studying in his dorm for a big exam. If it was just him going to a bar without telling me, that wasn't a big deal. I wasn't going to control Ethan's social life. But Liam's attitude, the victorious glint in his eye, suggested there was much more to it. "He plays around a lot more than you think," Liam said, watching my reaction carefully. "If you don't believe me, you can go check for yourself." Liam was certain this would make me suspicious of Ethan, that it would drive a wedge between us. And he was right. I had to know. I decided to go to the bar and see for myself, because I refused to get in his car. He followed me slowly from behind in his Rolls-Royce as I took a taxi. When I got out at the bar, I frowned and asked him, "What are you following me for?" He replied with a smirk, "To watch the show." I gritted my teeth. That bastard. "So, Ethan, are you going to let him have his show?" Ethan's actions proved it. He would. Not only did he let Liam watch my humiliation, but he also left me with absolutely no dignity. When I walked in, the familiar noise and music of the bar hit me like a physical blow. I saw Ethan in the center of a booth, surrounded by his laughing friends. He was kissing a girl through a thin piece of paper, part of a stupid drinking game. The girl looked familiar. It was Chloe, the long-haired girl who had cornered him at the bar before, the one he claimed was bothering him. She was blushing, leaning against Ethan with a triumphant look on her face. "I almost thought you had really settled down for that older woman," she said loudly. her voice dripping with scorn. Was it worth spending so much time on a game? And then came Ethan's voice, cool and nonchalant. As long as I win, it's worth it. He was holding something in his hands, dangling it for everyone to see. So what if she's like a fairy? She still obediently wear upon a scarf for me for a whole month. It was my scarf, the lumpy, imperfect scarf I had poured so much time and hesitant affection into. Chloe tried to take it from him, but he casually moved it out of her reach. Someone else at the table asked excitedly, "So, what's the next bet?" "Bet on when you can sleep with her." As soon as the words were out, there was a burst of harsh, cruel laughter. My blood ran cold. Behind me, I heard Liam curse under his breath and the sound of a beer bottle being picked up from a table. He was about to go over there. I stopped him, my hand on his arm. "Don't be rash." A flash of pain crossed Liam's eyes. He looked at me with disappointment. "Sarah, are you just going to let them insult you like that?" Before he could finish, I let go of his arm and walked straight over to their table. The laughter died down as they saw me. Seeing my face, Ethan instantly became flustered, his nonchalant expression dissolving into panic. "Sarah, why are you here? Let me explain. This isn't what it looks like." I didn't say a word. I snatched the scarf from his hand first, then picked up a half-full pitcher of beer from the table and poured it slowly and deliberately over his head. My gaze was calm, my hand perfectly steady. The cold liquid drenched his hair and clothes, dripping onto the floor. I looked him straight in the eye. "I guess we don't even need to break up, do we? It would be more appropriate to just say, game over." My suppressed emotions, a chaotic mix of anger, hurt, and humiliation, started to fizz and overflow like a shaken soda bottle. I looked with utter disgust at the beautiful eyes I once found so charming, and under his pleading gaze, I leaned in close and cursed him venomously. "Since you love playing games so much, why don't you go play yourself to death? Get lost, and don't ever let me see you again." Chloe, next to him, couldn't sit still anymore. She stood up and pointed a trembling finger at me. "How dare you talk to him like that? Do you really think an old crone like you?" "Shut the hell up," Ethan roared at her, his voice cracking. He then reached out a wet hand to grab me. But before he could touch me, Liam was there. A fist connected with Ethan's jaw, sending him sprawling back into the booth. Seeing who it was, Ethan was furious, wiping beer and blood from his lip. Are you still pestering Sarah?" Liam sneered. "I'm here to beat the crap out of a little bastard like you. Was the game fun?" Ethan's eyes turned red, and he launched himself at Liam. My mind was a mess of white noise. For a split second, I had only one thought. Let them fight. If one of them ends up dead, so be it. But in the end, reason won over emotion. I knew that with their family backgrounds, a public brawl wouldn't have serious consequences for either of them. The only one who would suffer, the one who would be talked about and pitied, would be me. I called out, my voice clear and sharp above the chaos. "Liam, let's go." Hearing my voice, Liam stopped, landed one last punch, and came back to my side. Ethan sat on the floor, looking disheveled and broken, like an abandoned stray dog. He stared at me intently, his eyes begging. I didn't look at him again. I just turned and walked away. By the time I finished treating the cut on Liam's knuckle, it was late at night. We were back at my new apartment, a small, sterile place I was still getting used to. The first aid kit felt foreign in my hands. In just a few short hours, I had executed another clean breakup. The moment I walked out of that bar, I had taken out my phone and deleted all of Ethan's contact information, blocking his number, his social media, everything. I sadly realized that I had become ruthlessly proficient at detaching myself from a relationship, at cutting people out of my life like a surgeon removing a tumor. "I've made things clear with Jenna," Liam said quietly into the silence as I was cleaning up the used cotton swabs. "Nothing like what happened before will ever happen again. Can we?" As he spoke, he suddenly grabbed my hand, his grip gentle but firm. I pulled my hand back with a cold, decisive expression and refused directly. No. I knew what he was going to ask, and the answer was already formed. Liam wasn't surprised. He let out a long, weary sigh. I knew it. He murmured, more to himself than to me. You could let go of our 4 years together just like that. So, of course you can let go of a few months with that little brat. He looked at me then, a strange intensity in his eyes. You have to be fair. Sarah, don't get back with him. Either. I almost rolled my eyes at him. You don't have to tell me that. A failed relationship is not worth looking back on. And someone who has betrayed you once will not be forgiven. When I told Olivia what happened, she was silent on the other end of the phone for a long time. Then she finally said, her voice a mix of awe and exasperation, "Girl, I'm not trying to criticize you, but I never realized you were such a scumbag magnet." Then, a thought occurred to her. No wonder that kid was messaging me like a madman yesterday, asking where you were. Since he loves playing games so much, how come he hasn't played himself to death yet? I didn't say anything. I had already said all the curses I needed to say to his face. There was nothing left but a hollow ache. Unable to contact me directly, Ethan could only resort to waiting for me downstairs at my apartment building. He looked awful. The bruises on his face from his fight with Liam hadn't faded, giving his handsome features a ragged, desperate look. The first time he saw me, he just stood there, hesitating. He clearly wanted to explain, but he was afraid I would just tell him to get lost before he could get a single word out. "Don't come here anymore," I said, my voice tired. Moving is a lot of trouble. His face turned pale at my words. "Sarah, I just moved in not long ago," I continued, cutting him off. "I don't want to have to move again. You know what I mean, right?" After a long silence, Ethan's voice came out choked, fragile. "You're not going to forgive me, are you? Don't ask a question when you already know the answer." "Ethan, I admit I approached you at first because of the game," he said, the words tumbling out in a rush. "But I genuinely fell for you during this time. Whether you believe it or not, the things I said to you weren't lies, and the things I did for you weren't fake. You liked me, too, didn't you?" He was acting like the victim now. I almost laughed out loud at the sheer audacity. Because he thought I liked him, he suddenly felt entitled to my forgiveness. "So what?" I shot back, my voice sharp as glass. "So you think you don't owe me anything? That you can use me as a bet? As a topic of gossip for you and your rich friends? Your intentions were fake from the very beginning. Your entire foundation is a lie. How am I supposed to believe a single thing that comes out of your mouth now?" I leaned in close, so he could hear every single word clearly. "Ethan, my biggest regret right now is giving you my number that day. I only did it because I was afraid you'd be embarrassed for losing your stupid game in front of your friends." I let that sink in for a moment, then whispered in his ear, "Don't you think it would have been better for everyone if we had never met?" After that, Ethan didn't come looking for me again. Instead, I threw myself into my work with a singular, ferocious focus. My small marketing firm ended up partnering with a major corporation on a new campaign. As the project leader, my career suddenly took off. I was working late nights and weekends, pouring all the energy that had once gone into failed relationships into building something of my own. Upon inquiry, I learned that the chairman of the corporation's last name was Carter, and he had only one son. In this regard, Ethan was better than Liam. Tangible benefits are 100 times better than empty apologies and hollow promises. Looking at my suddenly larger paycheck and my new, more impressive job title, I suppressed a smile. If this is how toxic relationships end, maybe I'm willing to have more of them. After all, as long as you can let go, as long as you can cut the cord cleanly, there's nothing in life you can't get over. Ethan's epilogue. The first time I noticed Sarah, it was Marcus who pointed her out. He gestured to a woman sitting on a sofa not far away and asked with a laugh, "Doesn't she have the vibe of a delicate porcelain doll who secretly rides a Harley?" I looked over and saw a woman with long, Straight black hair wearing a simple white dress. She had a gentle and quiet appearance, but she was shaking a dice cup with a cold, focused expression. Her clean, calm aura was completely out of place with the chaotic, colorful lights of the bar. My friends were playing truth or dare, as usual, and my dare was to get a stranger's contact information. I don't know what possessed me, but I approached that woman. As I expected, she didn't refuse. In my 22 years of life, very few people had ever refused me anything, but I didn't expect that as soon as I texted her explaining the reason, she would delete my contact. She had personality. She had boundaries. When my friends proposed that ridiculous game, that stupid bet, I wasn't interested at first. Not until I saw her again. If we're going to play, let's play big. I thought. 3 months. I bet I can win her over. So, I helped Sarah at the bar entrance, deliberately saying those ambiguous things to get under her ex-boyfriend's skin. My purpose was obvious, but Sarah was hard to get. So hard that she didn't give me a single chance for months. My friends all told me to give up, that it was just a stupid game we had come up with on the spot. But I didn't listen. I couldn't explain why. She wasn't my usual type, and she was so cold to me. But I wanted Sarah's eyes on me. I wanted to be the one to make her smile. Just a little more, and then a little more. Sarah had very strong boundaries. Her annoying ex-boyfriend, Liam, found me one day. He said, almost gloating, "You play around so much. Sarah will never accept you." I was stunned. I felt offended, and I smiled sarcastically at him. "So, she dumped you because you're dirty?" Sure enough, Liam showed the same offended anger I felt. But then he told me, triumphantly, "No, I wasn't dirty. Especially when we first got together. I'm different from you. Even though we're broken up now. I truly had her. You don't even have a chance to get close. You'd better pray you can hide your little game from her forever." Liam really got to me. He was right. I decided to try one last time. On her birthday. If Sarah refused me again, I would give up the game. But this time, Sarah agreed. I was ecstatic. But at the same time, I was terrified. Just as Liam had said, I had to be able to hide it from her forever. The day Sarah caught me at the bar, the sword of Damocles that had been hanging over my head finally fell. It didn't just hurt. It shattered me. I wanted to tell Sarah that none of it was fake anymore. That I really, genuinely liked her. That somewhere along the way, the game had stopped being a game. But I had seen how decisive Sarah could be. With her, you only get one chance. Once you lose it, it's gone forever. Those beautiful, calm eyes were no longer gentle. They were full of a disgust that was aimed directly at me. I knew then that we were never going to be possible again. For many years after, a sharp pain would throb in my heart whenever I remembered the look on her face in that moment. It was the price of the game, and I deserved it. Months melted into a year. The sharp edges of betrayal, once so painful to the touch, had been worn smooth by time and the relentless pace of my new life. I thrived in my new role at work. The Carter Corporation's investment had propelled not just my project, but my entire career into a new orbit. I was leading a larger team, handling bigger accounts, and earning a salary that would have seemed like a fantasy just a few years prior. The long hours were grueling, but the satisfaction of building something that was entirely mine was a balm to my soul. I bought my own condo in Lincoln Park, a sunny space with a small balcony perfect for Toto and a pot of sunflowers. I never bought gardenias. Olivia was proud of me, but she was also worried. "You work too much," she'd say, trying to drag me out for drinks. All work and no play makes Sarah a dull girl. I'm not dull. I'd argue. I'm focused. And I was. I didn't date. The thought of opening myself up to someone again, of risking that kind of vulnerability, felt exhausting. It was easier to keep my world small and controlled. My work, my dog, my best friend. That was enough. One evening, while attending a corporate networking event I couldn't get out of, I saw him. Not Ethan, but Liam. He was across the crowded ballroom, talking to a group of men in expensive suits. He looked different, healthier. The desperate energy he had carried in the weeks after our breakup was gone, replaced by his old, familiar confidence. Our eyes met for a brief second across the room. There was no anger, no longing, just a flicker of recognition, a silent acknowledgement of a shared past. He gave me a small, almost imperceptible nod, and I returned it before turning back to my own conversation. A chapter had finally, truly closed. The partnership with the Carter Corporation required me to attend quarterly review meetings at their headquarters downtown. It was a gleaming skyscraper of glass and steel that seemed to scrape the clouds. I had always managed to avoid any personal interaction with the higher-ups. My main contact was a senior VP, a professional and efficient woman in her 50s. I had never met the chairman, and I had certainly never seen Ethan. I assumed he had graduated and moved on, perhaps to another city or another country, living the life that had been laid out for him. On the day of our annual project presentation, the senior VP, Ms. Davis, informed me that the chairman himself would be sitting in. "He's been very impressed with your team's performance, Sarah," she said with a warm smile. "He wanted to meet the person leading the charge." My heart hammered against my ribs. I told myself to be professional. This was a business opportunity, nothing more. The sins of the son should not affect the business of the father. I walked into the vast boardroom, my presentation loaded on a flash drive in my hand. Several executives were already seated around the long, polished mahogany table, and at the head of it, in the chairman's seat, was not a man in his 60s, but Ethan. He looked older than I remembered. He was dressed in a perfectly tailored navy suit, his hair cut shorter, his face leaner, the boyish charm replaced by a quiet, serious intensity. The lazy, carefree air was gone, replaced by the heavy mantle of responsibility. He was no longer the college kid playing games in a bar. He was the chairman of the board. His father, as I would later learn, had retired early due to health issues, thrusting Ethan into the role far sooner than anyone had expected. He stood up when I entered. The entire room went quiet. "All eyes on us. Ms. Miller," he said, his voice low and steady, completely formal. "Thank you for coming. Please, have a seat." I gave my presentation on autopilot. The words and data flowed out of me, polished and practiced, but my mind was a chaotic storm. I could feel his eyes on me the entire time, an unreadable, intense gaze. When I finished, there was a round of applause. The other executives asked sharp, insightful questions, which I answered with a clarity that surprised even myself. Ethan remained silent until the very end. "Excellent work, Ms. Miller," he said finally, his voice echoing slightly in the quiet room. "Your results speak for themselves." He then addressed the rest of the board. "I believe we should not only continue this partnership, but expand it. Let's discuss the terms for a multi-year exclusive contract." The room buzzed with excitement. This was a massive win for my firm, a career-defining achievement for me. But I felt nothing, just a profound, hollow emptiness. After the other executives had filed out, leaving us alone in the boardroom under the pretense of gathering my materials, he spoke again. "Sarah." I didn't look at him. I just continued to pack my laptop into its bag. "I know what you must be thinking," he said, his voice closer now. He had walked around the table and was standing a few feet away. "But the investment, the partnership, it was never about trying to buy your forgiveness." I knew from the start that was impossible. I finally looked up at him. "Then what was it about?" A look of deep, profound regret crossed his features. "It was the only thing I could think of to do. I destroyed something beautiful because I was a stupid, arrogant kid. I wanted to, I don't know, build something in its place, to see you succeed, even if it had nothing to do with me. It was a selfish way to atone. I guess. I'm sorry. For everything." He didn't ask for another chance. He didn't ask for anything. He just stood there, laying the truth bare between us. I thought of the boy who had brought me fireworks on my birthday. who had held me and told me I was worthy of love. And I thought of the boy who had laughed with his friends as he called me a prize to be won. They were the same person. People are complicated. They can be both wonderful and terrible, sometimes all at once. I closed my laptop bag with a soft click. The past is the past, Ethan. What matters is the work we do now. I extended my hand, not as a lover, not as a friend, but as a colleague, a professional. I looked forward to our continued partnership. Mr. Carter. He looked at my outstretched hand for a long moment, and I saw a universe of unspoken emotions in his eyes. Then, he took it. His grip was firm, warm, and brief. As do I. Ms. Miller. I walked out of that boardroom, out of the gleaming skyscraper, and into the bright Chicago sunlight. I didn't look back. The ache in my heart, the one I had carried for so long, wasn't completely gone, but it had changed. It was no longer a wound, but a scar, a reminder of a lesson learned, of strength I didn't know I had. Standing on the bustling street, I took out my phone and called Olivia. "Hey," I said, a real smile spreading across my face, the first one in a long time that felt truly light. "Are you free for a drink tonight? I think it's finally time to celebrate." I had lost a boyfriend. I had lost a lover. But in the process, I had found myself. And for the first time, that felt like more than enough. It felt like everything.